I'm Zach Snyder.
And I'm Aden Matthews.
And welcome back to another YouTube podcast, the one-stop shop for anything and everything related to YouTube.
The show where I've decided, Zach, to become a full-time Fall Guys streamer instead of
yeah?
Yeah. I figured
epic.
It's the best step going forward. It's kind of a hot topic right now. It's where my passions are at. Thinking I could make a bit of money, make a bit of cash doing some Fall Guys streaming, for sure.
I guess my question is, after you make the big bucks, will you then be spending all of that real life US dollars on Fall Guys kudos so you can get more epic skins?
Right, but then, in business school, they always tell you to invest back in the business. So by me buying those skins with every cent I've made, I'm using that to make new videos on new Fall Guys skins.
True.
Some would call me a hack for doing that. I say it's fresh new content. So,
you could.
Haters gonna hate, bro.
You could even do like daily Fall Guys shop updates. You can show all the skins in the Fall Guys shop
100%.
every single day.
100%.
I think this is good. Yeah.
But the real fun part, and you got to keep this part a secret, is every April 1st, right? I set up to do a Fall Guys stream, but it's actually Among Us instead.
I'll never see it coming.
I rebrand for that day specifically as the Among Us guy, and they pretend to just do Among Us for a whole day. Be like, why is this Dizzying Heights? And I'm like, sure isn't. No, I'm an Among Us streamer, so get fucked.
Fun stuff. Glad to always see that we're getting the hottest of news on the podcast.
It kind of ties into the topic, Zach. That was all set up for the topic.
Yeah. What is our topic today?
The regrets. Bad decisions. Oopsies. Volume 1 and 2.
Hell yeah.
We're gonna be talking about every singular fuck up me and Zach have ever made in real life, and we'll see how long it goes. Really, that's the plan.
We're gonna talk about our sex life.
Yep.
We're talking about our bad financial decisions. It's really
when my girlfriend broke up with me in 8th grade, like all of it, bro. All the tea.
Oh yeah.
All the tea. But no, it's gonna be about YouTube regrets because this is a YouTube podcast. In case you forgot.
Probably a good idea.
Kind of narrow it down a little bit, niche it, if you will. We're gonna be talking about not every mistake, but the big ones at least that we made on YouTube, and the goal is not to be like boohoo, sad, my life bad, but to be like, hey, we literally went down this rabbit hole and fucked up. If you're listening to this, don't do that, and kind of give like some bullshit for the people listening to be like, all right, I won't do that. Thanks, boys. So this is for you. This isn't about us per se.
I see my YouTube career as kind of a comedy of errors. So the more of them that I can kind of tell other people about, hopefully they won't go through the same tumultuous journey as I have.
Hell yeah.
But before that, we do have to talk about my biggest regret, which is not getting our sponsor today, the Awesome Creator Academy YouTube Starter Kit.
Oh, big regret for me too, honestly.
Oh yeah. If you're getting started on YouTube and you have a little money to throw around, you should get the YouTube Starter Kit. For $99, you get over $1,500 of value and dozens of downloads from templates for advanced YouTube thumbnails, channel art, end cards, lower thirds, royalty-free background music, fonts, and more. Pay one price and have unlimited access to future downloads as they come out. Check out the link in the description or the show notes. You'll be supporting another YouTube podcast.
But of course, the podcast is ending soon. We only have 10 episodes left. If you've always wanted to support the podcast but haven't yet, that could be a big lifelong regret. So please, if you've always wanted to, become a supporter on Anchor. At anchor.fm/another-YouTube-podcast, you can decide to support us financially at $1, $5, or $10 a month, and we'll read your name on the podcast. Imagine your name on the final 10 episodes of the YouTube podcast. Could be
immortalized forever.
Could be pretty poggers. That's all I'm gonna say. Could be pretty poggers. While we plan to do this podcast for Zach, it says here a really long time. This year might have to fix that. The more financial support we'll have, the easier Oh, it also says we're maintaining a consistent schedule. We might want to fix that part too. You can
Yeah,
update both
we should
those
probably
parts
not say that part
to the
anymore,
ad
huh?
read for sure.
Yeah. In other words, the only thing you'll gain from supporting us is having your name read on the podcast.
Sure.
So, pretty
Biggest
high value
feature.
proposition.
The biggest
Yeah.
feature for sure. Thank you to the
Yeah.
sponsors, Awesome Creator Academy and Anchor.fm.
Absolutely. And as you could have told, quick reminder, if you haven't listened to the last episode, we are ending the podcast soon. We only have 10 more episodes left. So this is number 90.
It
so
is.
Get in there, go listen to that. Give us some topics, some suggestion, comments, all that kind of stuff, and we'll get it done before we finish it, but it will be finished before 2021 is over. So
Hell yeah. If you want more
you're on a
context
timer.
as to why, or you want reasons, that's the place to go. Zach's just giving you the quick and dirty info on this episode.
Yeah.
So go back and listen to that. It's only like 38 minutes or something. And come back to this one, because we're also going to be talking about YouTube stuff as well, just in the form of regrets, which this podcast is not one of my regrets. It's so epic.
I agree.
Zach's very epic too.
Oh shit! Thanks,
Got no
bro. You
regrets
too.
there.
Yeah, that's nice. That made me feel all warm and cozy inside. Unfortunately, being your friend has.
Zach could even finish it, bro.
I couldn't. I tried.
I was gonna say something to the effect of, Zach, you feeling warm and cozy inside has nothing to do with our friendship, but more of a chili bean night, eating a lot of beans.
I did eat Taco Bell again last night. So
Probably what it is. It's a natural side effect. But I'm glad
let
you
me
took
ask you.
for sure.
Let me ask you, do you have any real regrets? Like the topic is YouTube regrets. We're going to talk about things that we wish we had done differently, but at the core of everything, do you ever feel regretful?
Sometimes, every now and then.
Okay.
I think the big thing for me in my older age, if you will,
Oh yeah,
is
yeah.
that looking back on things that I am regretful of is funny in the sense that the things I regret happened when I was a stupid child and could not have had the foresight to think ahead.
Yeah, 100%.
Which I'm sure older people in their 60s, right? Like they probably have earnest regrets because they're thinking about times in their 20s and 30s. But it's kind of stupid for me and you to have regrets when, as far back as we go, is like 8th grade.
You're right.
Is that really a regret? I was kind of a stupid idiot at that point. I don't know if I would have thought that through. But no, like of course we all have things that we wish we would have done differently. The question is like, could I have had the foresight to have changed or done things differently, or
Right.
Was it always meant to work out this way? Was this a crucial step in my development that led me to other places, right? You can't get caught up on it, is usually the thing. You kind of just have to take the event for what it is, acknowledge it, and grow as a person, and try to do better. That's the whole point.
Yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to start the conversation with, is that if you ever feel like there's something that you genuinely regret, take a step back, look at it, realize that like maybe you could have done it better, but who really knows? And at the end of the day, I think all of the things that we'll talk about today are things that if I had not done it, I wouldn't be the person I am now. And that would kind of suck. I like a little bit of the person I am now,
Hell yeah.
I feel like a lot of things have culminated into, the decisions that I've decided to make in recent memory. So I don't truly regret anything, but if I was going to do everything again, these will be some things that
There would be a couple of little
change.
itty bitty tiny little whittle changes.
Some
small things. So I'll go ahead and kick it off. Kick it off to you. What's like one of your biggest YouTube regrets? You can start recent. You could go back to Sabijan Games if you want. You can pick wherever for as long as you've been on YouTube. Just a regret, a lesson to learn, whatever.
Let me start. I've got like a big one for sure that I'll mention later. I'll start off a little smaller. I wish that I didn't get too big into the hype of oversharing and documenting my life.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Because
talked about on the come up.
we did. I talked about it on my finale of the come up, and I talked about it a little bit on here already. But long story short, I in 2017 started watching a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk, was watching Casey Neistat, watching a lot of productivity YouTubers, watching a lot of entrepreneurs, and I got this feeling that I needed to document everything about my life because obviously I'm super important and I'm going to go places one day. When in the reality is it's like a lot of the quote documenting that I did on the come up, this podcast, the personal channel, articles, it was just complaining about shit that most people don't care about.
Yeah.
Like that's what it came down to. And I don't think it's hurt me. I don't think it's something that's helped me either. It's just a thing that if I was going to do everything over again, I would keep my mouth shut about certain things.
100%. Or at least save them to where you felt comfortable to talk about them later, right?
Right. At least like, cause a big reason that we're kind of ending the podcast is a lot of those earlier episodes of us giving advice to other YouTubers, it comes from a place of naivety. We kind of think that we know more about the topic than we actually know. And I feel like that was me with a lot of things. In not just YouTube, but in life. I feel like early on I was a little bit of a know-it-all. I thought I had my shit together when in reality I'm almost 26 and I still do not have my shit together. So
we've had a lot of fun recently looking at old Zach and old Aden stuff too, where we're giving advice to the masses, and the advice in question is not aged well, even a little bit. And I guess it just came from a place of feeling like we knew what we were talking about, but in reality we had a lot more life to live, had a lot more YouTube to make, had a lot more time to put in to at least have results to back up said advice, for sure.
Definitely. And that's kind of where I'm coming at it with this. It's that like I was doing it all again. I don't think my advice has ever been prolific or important. There's nuggets, there's moments where I'm like, ooh, that felt really good to say. I hope that impacts somebody. And there's been moments where people have emailed me or messaged me or told me outright that like they look up to me or they're glad that I do YouTube because it's helped them, inspired them or whatever. And that's really cool. Like I love that a lot. But as a whole, I don't think everything I've said is not only do I not think everything I've said has been important or needed to be said, but some of it was wrong. Some of it was just downright wrong.
Misinformation, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, a classic.
Yeah.
A classic.
Gotta love it. But that's my first one. What you got for your first regret?
That's a good one. I'm going to take it just straight up to I wish I didn't do variety content on Early Blue Couch Productions. I get where I was coming from when I made said decision to do variety. I had never had an audience before on YouTube. Never even had people watch my shit before. I bounced around from channel to channel. I worked on Let's Play stuff. I really didn't know how to edit. So imagine then doing Pokemon streams of all things and getting an audience where people are watching your streams and you're getting 200 views. And you're like, oh shit. Am I a YouTuber now? Oh shit, I gotta capitalize on this. And I don't disagree with capitalizing on this, especially that you found an audience, but because I'd never done it before and because I've never had a plan or even a modicum of success, what that ended up being was just throwing shit at the wall for the next 2 or 3 years. And that shit stinks, bro. It has stayed on the wall. I have not been able to get it off, and it is part of the reason why I'm starting a new channel.
That shit runny.
Yeah. It stinks up the whole place, bro. Had I picked a lane, any lane, really, and that was the sad part. I think a lot of what I did back then could have been an interesting channel. I think Midnight Vlogs could have been an interesting channel. I think had I done Q&A stuff, that could have been an interesting channel. Had I stuck with Pokemon top 10s, sure, there's 1,000 people that do that shit. They're all good ideas, but I wanted to be the do everything guy. I wanted to be the variety man. I wanted to do Let's Plays and streams, and none of it had a schedule, and none of it made any sense, and most people were just there for Pokemon streams. And while I did eventually get my act together, it was kind of a little bit of a too little too late situation. But again, like I said at the beginning, I was a dumb little kid who had never had success on YouTube to begin with. It's not surprising that I went out and did what I did. It's just like, it would have been nice for somebody to be like, hey, maybe don't. maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
I get
that
it.
shit up a little bit.
It's always tough with like new channels and early creators where, they have a lot of interest, they have a lot of desires, they're trying to do a lot. The really big answer to a lot of people's YouTube problems is to niche down. We know that. We know that now. And yet, I also think if you're just starting a YouTube channel and you don't know what you want to turn it into yet, I think the variety and the experimentation is very beneficial from a creative standpoint.
I learned a lot. Doing a bunch
Exactly.
of different content. It didn't force me in one lane. I had to learn a lot of stuff. I had to do Let's Plays and live streams and OBS and, being a presenter. There's a lot of my early presenting was just midnight vlogs. That kind of taught me a little bit how to talk about things. But clearly, the fact now is when you look at the current Blue Couch Productions, not the new one, there are only like 3 or 4 videos from that 2017, 2018 era. And everything else is 2019 when I finally decided to niche down, which kind of goes to show that the actual quality of those 400 uploads was very, very few and far between.
Sporadic, right?
Yeah. And I didn't really like challenge myself or like really work on something particular because I was like, well, I'll just fall back on doing a Let's Play or doing a stream. I don't have to.
Yeah.
Most people don't have to. My problem was never not uploading or not trying. We always tell people to try and start uploading. That was never my issue. My issue was trying and putting energy into a space that would not get me anywhere, which is harder. Which is harder to like fix when you don't know what you're doing.
And it's demoralizing when you look at like a 17-year-old doing Minecraft videos and they've got like 10 million subscribers. You're like, yeah, it makes sense. They niched down. They did the same thing every day. Like, they had the work ethic of us. They had the kind of foresight of trying to get better in every video or whatever. The only difference, the major difference, is they stuck to the one thing and they just did it.
Yep.
And both of us didn't do that. And it kind of sucks. It's like we've been doing YouTube for so long, you kind of would have hoped that we have seen some kind of major success by now, and yet you don't have that niche down. It's hard to get anywhere. So
100%. That's a big one for me. That's a big boy.
I get it.
Back to you.
Well, yeah. Let me go ahead and throw out the big one. I regret doing Let's Play content.
Yo, I was wondering who was gonna say it first. I had it on.
Yeah.
Too. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Just I think I would be I think I would be doing a lot better, not only in terms of success on YouTube, but just in terms of mental health and my enjoyment of games and all kinds of things. I think I would have been better off if I didn't do Let's Plays.
Well, what does that mean? Is he referring to solo, group, Let's Play? All of it. The whole everything.
No Let's Plays. I could have streamed. Streaming would have been better. Of course, early on, I didn't have the internet or the capabilities of doing that, so whatever. But it's, when I look back, when I had first started to do YouTube, I started doing music covers, and then I started a gaming channel because I wanted to do a documentary series on Nintendo games. Mm-hmm. That was the reason I started that channel. And I did a few episodes of that show, and they did really well at the time, but I knew that I couldn't do just that, or I felt like I couldn't just do that. And I had been watching a lot of other Let's Players, and I was like, ooh, I can do that too. and so I started doing Let's Plays. But if I had done the channel how I had initially wanted to do it, not only do I think I would have been much further along in my content creation game, because honestly, I don't feel like I've actually tried to make good videos until 2017. I think everything before that was just making videos, just to do them. But on top of that, like, every game that I've Let's Played, I feel like I got more out of it if I played it off camera. I don't feel like the commentary was ever good enough to warrant doing the series to begin with. I don't think I ever was a good commentator to begin with. Never been good at games. And like, even 2017, which I saw for a long time as kind of that big movement towards the content I make now, I made like 1,000 videos that year, and most of them were Let's Play related.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, I wished I didn't do Let's Plays. I don't think it would have affected me in the long term in a negative way. I don't think I would have lost anything about who I am if I had not done Let's Plays. That's the wild thing.
At least for you, though, like, when you started doing them on Subijin Games, it was a popular form of content. What excuse do I have in 2017 doing Let's Plays when they're already out the door? Like, what the fuck was wrong with Aden where he was like, yo, I'm gonna do Let's Plays because, Game Grumps does Let's Plays and they do well. Oni Plays does Let's Plays and they do well. And everyone that I watched who did Let's Plays, guess what? I like their live action shit far better. Super Mega is a big one there where, like, yeah, they do funny Let's Plays. But if you ask me what my favorite Super Mega videos are, it's the live action shit. And I should have saw that and went like, okay, Let's Plays are on their way out. Either work on some of those live action funny things, which, not a comedian, not the lane I would have gone. But I could have gone in like the completionist or game theory or video essay or something. And that's the shit I really love to watch. I didn't watch Let's Plays when I was making them. I watched a few, but not nearly as much as the kind of analytical stuff that I always enjoyed and would come to later enjoy making.
Same.
But you can't do an analytical video every week, so why not just fucking put 3 episodes out? Fucking Mario 64 instead. And then, like, wouldn't you know it, you're tired by the end of it, and you don't work on the video you actually thought you were going to.
Yep.
And that's just solo Let's Plays, man. Group shit is a whole nother ball game. Sometimes it's cool. Me and Jay in Breath of the Wild got to know that man very well, improved our commentary and chemistry a lot. Parker and Stardew, same scenario. That's a series I'm genuinely proud of. Fire Red, Mega Man 2 Versus. Like, you were on your A game on that shit.
I agree.
And that was because we had built up that relationship to do it. But man, back in the early fucking days, hey man, you want to Let's Play? Sure, hop on my fucking Skype call. Let's just talk shit for 15 minutes. I don't know you, you don't know me. Neither of us have good mic etiquette or like editing or knowledge on the game. Let's just ramble for a little bit, for 15 minutes and hope it does well. Because co-op Let's Plays are a thing. We could do that, right? Like, and it's just only produced headaches for me when I've, tried to think about what type of content I could do. I think about this now. I'm like, what type of content would be best for new Blue Couch production stuff? Well, I could work on a video every week, but there's still that little inkling, that little seed in me that's always like, but think about this, Abe. You could do weekly Let's Plays. And then,
Let's Plays.
Right? They're easy to do, they're easy to edit. You could put them out in the meantime, and the thought hasn't left my brain yet, despite knowing it's a horrible idea. There are weeks, there are days where I wake up and go, new Let's Play channel time, and then I, come to my fucking senses. But whether it's Blue Couch Productions, whether it's early Let's Play channels I was a part of, we've already talked about the LHC thing 1,000 times, but yes, that as well. It did teach me how to edit. It brought me closer to some people, but that's like a 3% good shit that came out of that, and 97% waste of fucking time.
I agree. It is simply a thing that I did a lot of, and I got very little out of it. Both in a actionable skills thing, I feel like I didn't get good at editing until after I'd stopped doing Let's Plays and started doing actual videos. I didn't get good at commentary until I'd done more live stream stuff more than anything. And yeah, I do love some of the series that we've done together. That Mario Odyssey versus, love the shit out of that. That was really fun. The Fire Red, the Mega Man 2 versus, all that kind of stuff. I'm glad I did it, but I think that I would have gotten a lot more out of content creation as a whole over the last 10 years if I had just stuck to doing some of the other videos that I had wanted to do over Let's Plays.
And again, not everybody who listens to us is a gaming channel or a Let's Play channel. They might just be like doing vlogs or music. But you know what we're referring to here when we say the easy type of content that everyone else does. You could apply that to your niche really easily and be like, oh, definitely. I know what you're talking about. We just use Let's Plays in the sense that we were both video game boys who grew up at a time when Let's Plays were kicking off. And we thought we could do that. And it turns out we cannot. It is a very hard skill. It takes an incredible work ethic. Being able to like edit and be funny consistently is hard. But fooled ourselves into thinking we could do it full time. And even if we were able to, that would not be fun. If we actually had made it on any of our Let's Play ventures and that was just the thing we were known for, it wouldn't be great. It wouldn't be great at all.
So yeah, that's the big regret for sure. There's no Let's Plays. I wouldn't do them. And you're right. Every once in a while, I get the little bug in my head that's like, "Yo, you should do another Let's Play." It's like the damn ring from Lord of the Rings, bro.
Oh yeah, 100%.
My precious is them damn Let's Plays,
but damn Let's Plays.
You gotta learn to know better.
Find your own value, man. Find your own value. And if it is commentating over a video game, live stream instead. there are other ways to beneficially spend that time. Or
there's a lot of people that's really good at it.
Here's a wild thought too: just enjoy the video game. You know, don't make content out of it. Mm-hmm. Or if you do, like make a there's so many things you can do with gaming and editing, and it sucks that the number one thing is just to talk over it, and that's what it is. There's so many people who start channels who only do Let's Plays, who only stay in Let's Plays and never get anywhere, and they're like, well, why didn't it get anywhere? It's because the content you make ain't going anywhere, my guy.
Yeah.
But it is.
I get so much more out of a game when I play it by myself, or even play it in a call with the homies, and then talk about it in a video that I've spent time on writing a script and editing it and making sure I have the perfect takes. Like, it's just, I get so much more out of that game, and I get so much more out of my content. And it sucks that for so long I thought doing Let's Plays mattered at all.
It don't.
And it really don't.
You really don't.
So,
it's a good one.
That's the big one.
It's a good one. Well, you've probably heard this
next
one from me 1,000 times, either on the podcast or personally. Wish we didn't start too many damn projects, you know?
There's another one right there, yep.
Yeah, I wish we did not start so many projects. And here's why we did, I think, honestly. There's a new YouTube boy, right? Where I'm doing a variety of content. And one of my videos, is it top 10 Kanto Pokemon or Johto Pokemon? I don't remember. Zach be leaving a comment on after I commented on his Mega Man 3 Let's Play. We get to know each other, right? I show up on the first episode of Nerdception, very based. We talk a little bit. We do a Smash video, which in retrospective was not that great on my end. But hey, you know, we're building a relationship. I'm learning how to edit a little bit more.
Mine hadn't aged well either, so.
We're talking. That Big Mac bit, immaculate, Zach.
That one's great. I love that one. That one's really good.
But I get what you mean.
Yeah.
And we get to talking, right? We get to hanging out. And being that both me and Zach, you know, Zach's been doing Subijin games for a while, but like in terms of YouTube, right, you're still pretty new.
Yeah, I'm a few years in, but not super in.
It's relatively new, right? We get to talking and we're like, hey, wait, you do YouTube? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, hold on. You do YouTube as well. And you're like, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What if we did YouTube stuff together? And it's like, whoa, that's crazy. I don't just have to do Blue Catch Productions. You don't just have to do Subhegian Games. And it took 80 different forms. It was Inception, then it was Lines on Our Nerdcast, then it was YouTube podcast, then it was LHG, then it was collab stuff, then it was Game Club, whatever fucking project you want to point out. MBL, Monthly Battle League. There's 1,000 of these examples. Movie night. There's 1,000 of these examples where we got to know some homies in the group and all went, well, if we all do YouTube individually, what's to say we can't do it together on multiple channels? And it's a good idea in concept. But number one, we were all very early on in our own growth and development and still had a lot to learn, clearly.
Yeah.
That kind of ties into the other points. Number two, and this is the big one, and the reason why I put it as a regret. When you decide to do a bunch of different side projects, it sounds cool on paper and it makes total sense when you plan it out. But I promise you, the only thing you are going to get out of it is the time that you would spend doing your own shit is now delegated to doing side projects, and you will never get that time back. You will never get that time back. Even if it's casual, even if it's just a little podcast you record once a week, you may not think it would ever impact your main channel content. But it will. And there will be points where you won't be able to upload anything because of that. Most people have one side project that this happens to, and then that's a regret for them. Imagine having 6. That's why we're classifying it as a major regret. We had up to 6 or 7 of these, and none of them went anywhere. YouTube podcast is an exception. It's my one exception to the rule where I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad it's ending, and I'm glad we're gonna have a finale. Pretty much everything damn else was a mistake that could have its own individual section. But I'm lumping it together under too many projects.
It is a thing that continued when I met you and we got the core group of homies together to do shit, but I started like that. I had the music channel, I made the gaming channel, I decided to make some music on the side. I started a collaborative gaming channel with this dude that I haven't talked to in 8 years. We did 3 videos. It went nowhere. There was the Let's Play forum website that I was actively involved in. I did a bunch of, and it happened to me in college. I did a lot in college. I had too many projects with YouTube and then too many things going on in college. It is a constant problem of mine, in general, of just someone trying to do too much at one time. And I wish I could take that part of my brain and just remove it, because there's definitely aspects of it that I find beneficial. I think I'm a more creative person because of it. I think my brand of content is just a little bit more unique because I'm crazy enough to be interested in too many things. But
again, we got to know each other better.
We got to know each other. I've met a lot of cool people throughout it. But I think the downsides have far outweighed the positives, in that there's just no focus in your life when you have so much going on.
If you can imagine all the time you spent doing all those side projects and then just went, okay, what if that time but on main channel be in a completely different place right now? Completely
100%.
No doubt in my mind. You would be further along, have more videos, a bigger audience, everything.
Yeah.
Because it takes so much time to manage, to upload, to keep things consistent. And guess what? When you're not keeping it consistent and you're working on your main thing, you're feeling guilty about it.
That's the
you're
big
doing
part.
the right thing by working on your own main channel, but you can't even properly fucking enjoy it because now you're feeling guilty about a random side project you started back in 2017. What fresh hell is that? That's horrible. That's horrible.
It's awful.
It happened so many times.
It's awful.
So many times.
Still happens. It's why we're ending this podcast. And again, this is the exception. I 100% agree with you. Another YouTube podcast is the one project out of everything we've done that I'm 100% happy with and glad that it's going to have a proper ending. But it's like, the reason we're ending this, the reason I ended up my personal channel, the reason I'm not live streaming right now is all because I am trying to get to a state where I do Your Everyday Nerd, and that is it. That's it. I don't want to do anything else in terms of projects because I don't feel like I can properly do shit on that channel if I'm also scatterbrained with everything else.
And here's the thing. Eventually, if things are successful, eventually when we all get to the point where our own content is pretty good, eventually if I'm rich and have a team to do that shit for me,
there it is.
Then sure. The problem specifically that we're pointing at is not only did we do too many projects, we did them early, which is a mistake that almost nobody makes, because usually if they start a project like that, it's at least after they've established something. We didn't even establish anything, properly before we started doing shit. And all of them suffered. And, all of them were good ideas on paper. All of them were satisfying and interesting and cool. Movie night's a cool idea. Lions on Our Gaming is a cool idea. Monthly Battle League's a cool idea when you're not working on your own channel. Like, all of them are cool.
Yeah.
But you're going to find that not only do you not have time to dedicate to your own stuff, you're not going to have time to properly flesh out those side projects either. So they're hurt. By not getting to their full potential. And so it becomes a question of, okay, then what do I really want to do, right? And when you take the time to look at all of the shit you're doing and to really ask yourself, what do I actually want to be doing? Where do I see myself in 5 years? Where do I want to be? Then it really puts things into perspective, and more importantly, puts things into focus of what you should be paying attention to. And for me and you, it dead ass was very simple. It was Blue Couch Productions, Your Everyday Nerd, occasional personal channel, right? Occasional Aden on Anchor, occasional stream if you feel like it, but mainly the main channels. And it sucks that not only did we do all those things, but it's taken upwards of 3 to 4 years to wind those things down and get back on track. Time that we will not get back.
Yeah, and I think one of the other big downsides to it is you disappoint people.
Yep.
There's people that subscribe to your main channels for this thing, and if you're not doing it consistently, no wonder we lose subscribers every once in a while. They didn't get what they came there for, And then on top of that, okay, well, you have 20 other side projects. If those aren't consistent, those people aren't getting what they came for. And you're really fucked if you're doing a side project with another person, because they might be getting something more out of it than you are. And if you're not consistent with it, you're not being communicative enough, you're letting them down. So,
especially when the side project to them becomes as important as the main thing and it was not for you.
Right. That kind of expectation thing.
Then suddenly, you feel like you're letting other people down and you're not contributing. But at the end of the day, there's partial blame on all of us for starting that or enabling it or whatever. But at the very least, going forward, we're creative people. We have a lot of ideas. There are most likely going to be new projects that we start in the future, whenever that is. But the goal is at least to have them make at least a little bit more sense and doable and reasonable.
Right.
In the context of what we do now. But the main piece of advice that I would give for anybody listening to this is have focus, right? Pick a thing you want to do and do that well. Eventually. Don't feel like you're never going to have a chance to spread out or branch out. That time will come. But if you want any of those ideas to do well, if you want to give those side projects a chance, wait to do them when your main thing is already established and doing well. Then go ahead. But at least then, if they don't work out, you have the main thing to fall back on. I don't think we really had a thing to fall back on because they were all relatively at the same size.
Yeah. It's only recently where we feel like our main content is the next level above all of the side projects, right?
Yeah. For a while, they were all pretty much the same.
Right. Exactly. So
Have a bit of focus. That's the main takeaway here.
focus goes a long way.
Yep. Back.
Well, I'm gonna get a little controversial. I kind of regret early, like, it's a lot of early stuff we're talking about, obviously. But I got to know too many people a little bit too close on the internet.
Interesting. Elaborate. I didn't expect this one.
I think that when I first started doing YouTube, I was getting around that phase in my real life where I was opening up more to people. Used to be very, very, very introverted, closed book, couldn't find out shit about me unless I really wanted to tell you. And then it was around that sophomore year, junior year of high school. When I had started YouTube, I was also starting to learn more about myself and try to open up more, become more connected to people and all that kind of thing. And the effect of that was a homie DM'd me on YouTube and was like, I have this website with a bunch of other Let's Players. Love to have you on it. And I became super involved with it for the next year and a half, to the point where I was the one DMing other people and being like, hey, we got this website. Would you like to join? And what that meant was I was finding myself in Skype call after Skype call with people that I didn't really have too much interesting thing. I didn't have too many things in common with. People that I really wished I had not even spent time with to begin with. And all in all, just like, it goes back to kind of that wasting time on doing a bunch of side projects that didn't amount to anything. Like, I did a lot of collaborative projects in that time period as well. And it was with the people that I didn't feel like, I didn't have, like I said, I didn't have much in common with them, but also like their goals were so far removed from my goals, and like some of those people just weren't good people to be around with, if that makes sense.
Sure. I think your environment plays a big factor into, not only your mental health, but the type of stuff you make and produce. It's clear that our relationship has had an impact on the type of content we continue to make, because otherwise, had we just been by ourselves, decisions would have played out differently. We would have had different thoughts, potentially gone in different directions. Who knows? But while some relationships can have a positive effect on your content and what you do, there are most certainly other relationships that have made things worse, and not helped. And that's not to say, don't have friends. It's not the advice that we're getting at here. But at least when it comes to making YouTube and content, if you're the type of person who wants it to succeed, if you're the type of person who wants it to be a career, I think Gary Vee said it best, where it's like, find the people that you want to be like, right? Find the people that share those similar goals, and then work with them. I think the problem in your instance was you were just finding whoever the fuck, and
right,
of whether or not they fit, and some of them might not have helped you long term.
Right. And obviously I think the people that I still talk to, the people that are still in my Discord servers, the people that I still follow on social media, like, you guys are good. Like, I have no problems with you at all. If I've still talked to you in the last 2 years, 3 years, we're still good. Don't worry about it. But there were definitely like a lot of people early on that just rubbed me the wrong way, and it took me a long time to kind of remove them from my life, because not only did it not help me in general with YouTube stuff, but also, like you said, the like mental health side of thing. There was just one person in particular that was such a, like, he was like the best friend of the YouTube people at one point. And it was growing up and realizing this dude kind of crazy. He got some ideas about content that I don't even agree with at all. And it was just like a lot of small things. Tried to do a collaborative project with him in like 2018, and it went super wrong. So I'm very happy that I've removed myself from these certain people before. But that's definitely a regret that I think I had. That it's tough because on the flip side of things, I feel like by surrounding myself with a lot of different YouTubers and Let's Players and stuff, it kept me making content. I had kind of a group of people I could talk to, right? But on the other end of things, like I may have made radically better decisions with my content had I not been around those people.
Had you gotten involved with somebody who was, looking out for you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's not just YouTube advice, but I think good life advice is recognizing that the relationships you have, you are in control of, right?
Yeah.
So if there's a person in your life that is toxic, mean to you, not adding anything, then it's realizing that you have self-control to leave those scenarios and should leave those scenarios.
Right.
I know it's hard to do that. It's a lot of work to socially distance yourself off from somebody. People like to say it's easier online, but I honestly think it's harder, especially if you're a content creator and have so many avenues where people could reach you. Sure, you leave them off Discord, but what if they show up on Twitter? Or what if they show up in a live stream chat? People are weird and mean and like get attached to shit.
Yeah.
So it can be really hard to like break and sever those ties. But trust me, all the work that you put into it is worth it and is for the best, because surrounding yourself with good people, surrounding yourself with people who care about you, will not only make your work better, but your mental health and your life in general. And it can be tough to find those people. I get it, and it requires knowing more about yourself and being honest and having a genuine desire to help others, right? But
yeah,
it's worth it. It's an endeavor that no matter how hard it gets is a worthwhile one to have, because your happiness is first and foremost, I think.
100%. Well, back to
not even related to YouTube, just some life shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just some life shit. Oh man, back to me again. Jeez. What's a good one? What's a really good one? I'm gonna go with similar route. Route.
Go for it.
And we talked about this before. I think I, for a long time, was a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I get that.
And that doesn't sound like a bad thing. And if you're the type of person who considers yourself a people pleaser, that's not me saying it's a bad thing. But in a YouTube context specifically, it gets really weird because your job is to essentially like serve others. And that can get really weird with priorities, right? So a big example of that is YouTube, right? And every decision I made, at least early on, was for someone else, right? Oh, you want to do this project? I'll go ahead and do it. Oh, I'll go ahead and edit it. Oh, people like Pokemon? I'll make more Pokemon stuff. Oh, there was an interest in this? I'll do that. And some people would call that like, following the data, making what people want to see, right? And I'm not trying to say be selfish here or anything. The problem was when I wanted to do back to the video games, when I wanted to focus on solo content, when I wanted to make those radical changes, I would be in call with Zach, and I'd be like, well, what if people don't like it? What if people think it's a bad idea? What if people or whatever? And I think it was you who told me multiple times just to be like, yo, bro, you gotta you just gotta do it if you really think it's a good idea, bro, and fuck what other people say. So that's where I'm getting at here. I wish I didn't put so much value in what other people said when it came to the type of content that I make, because it really stifled a lot of my own personal creativity, and I think kind of damaged a little bit of the channel for a little bit. And I don't put blame on anybody. This is strictly an Aden issue here. But sometimes I'd be wanting to help and serve people a little too much to where it hurts my own personal stuff sometimes.
Yeah, I get it. It's a tough line to kind of balance between making the content you want to make and making the content that people want to watch you for. And there's definitely something to be said of the Martin Scorsese approach: make one for me, make one for you, make one for me, make one for you. But I think at the end of the day, especially with YouTube, where we're so in control of everything that we put into a video or even other content, we're in control of everything. There's no reason why you shouldn't be doing things 100% for you.
Yeah.
Because you attract the audience that you want, or you attract the audience that's right for you, I guess.
You manifest it.
You manifest it. Exactly. I mean, like, if you make 10 videos about Pokemon, it makes it look like you really care about Pokemon, and you might. But if that's not the content that you want to make full time, then don't do it. Make one every once in a while. It doesn't have to. You don't have to program everything based on what the audience wants to see for you, especially early on, because there's plenty of people that care about very similar things that you care about, and eventually, hopefully, they'll find your channel. And then, at the end of the day, like, being a people pleaser only hurts you more, because you can't please everybody, and you can't please the people that you've been pleasing forever. It's really hard to do that.
Right. I think the problem with this one specifically is that YouTube and social media kind of blurs those lines so heavily.
They do, yeah.
Where a lot of advice you listen to, a lot of people will tell you to, like, don't make content for yourself. Find a niche. Find and make content for other people. Make how-to shit. Read every chat message. Respond to everyone in Discord. Build those connections. Like, really put yourself out there and do a lot of things for other people. Build that value. And I'm all about that. But what I wish people would have said is to take control of that a little bit better, and make sure that I myself am happy with that. Because oftentimes I was putting other people's needs before my own. But YouTube advice and social media advice really ruins that when content creation is so focused on other people's needs and wants. How do you balance that line? It's really hard.
It's a thing where, like, I know that YouTube is built on capitalism and doing it's the same reason Disney is going to be making like 5 Marvel movies a year. There's demand for it. Supply and demand is very much a real thing. But I think, and I think it's going to be a struggle for me for the rest of my life, because you do not stay, as a creator, you cannot be mentally healthy and do exactly what other people want you to do all the time. Like, it is impossible. And frankly, I would rather be 100% selfish in the content I create and it not go anywhere than do the opposite.
100%.
And that's going to be, if that ends up happening, I'm going to struggle with that for sure. But still, yeah. And it's another thing too. It's that old, like, you can't help people until you help yourself.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I do believe in that. I think it's very difficult to want to please everybody in your personal life and everybody that's watching your content, your friends, your family, and also be doing what's right for you. You kind of have to be like, fuck everybody else until this shit is right for me, and then I can really help the other people around me.
100%. 100%. I think at the end of the day, it just comes from a desire to not want to disappoint people. Right?
It does.
It's just to be like, I really don't want other people to not be satisfied with the shit that I make, and it's cool and all, but if you're not satisfied with the shit you make, bro, you're in a world of trouble later down the line when you lock yourself into something you didn't even want to do, all in the name of not wanting to disappoint somebody. When it would have been way easier to just be upfront and be like, yeah, actually, I don't want to do that, and then go and do the other thing.
Yeah.
But I'm really bad about communicating that shit to other people because it's scary and it's like
it's hard.
I'm mostly still introverted, so the idea of like telling someone, "Hey, that type of shit you like, I don't really want to fucking do it anymore," can be really challenging. So I just put that shit off or try to subtly kind of hint at it for a little bit. And there's no need to spend 4 months doing that when you could just be upfront with someone and if they care about you, they're probably cool with it anyway. So there's no need in stressing about it. It's fine. It's fine. But that's kind of a personal one. Back to you.
I guess kind of on another similar note, it's hard for me to find too many other things that I fully regret. And this one I like. Part of me regrets it, and part of me is like, nah, it should have happened that way. There's something about being as open to communication on the internet. Something about, putting my Skype and all my descriptions to videos so people could reach me early on, and making a Discord server even, having my DMs open on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and all these kind of things that, like, it makes sense to have it so that people can reach you. And I've had really good, like, business opportunities through that. So it's hard for me to say that I shouldn't have done this at all. But there's days where I'm like, running a Discord server does not make sense for what I'm doing currently. And I don't feel like I'm being involved in it enough. And it kind of be better for my health, my mental health, if I didn't have it.
It's not what you signed up for, right? It's not what you signed up for.
Right.
It's a part of the job that you kind of have to do because you're like a people manager now, because you make content for others.
Yep.
And so I kind of sympathize with the creators who just straight up say, like, no, actually, I don't want to make a Discord. I don't really want to make a Twitter. I don't really want you to contact me. Really, the only way I want you to be involved is commenting on my videos. And then when I post a new one, commenting on those. And that's it. That's the only bit of involvement I want you a part of. You may think, like, oh, these guys are really missing out on a lot of opportunities. They could be growing at such an astronomical rate. But really, it's a long-term move right there to just set up those boundaries, man. I wish I had set up some fucking boundaries, bro, early on, day one. You can't do that when you're a fucking 18-year-old kid and you don't know how shit works, and you make a YouTube channel and you're like, oh, I'll make a Discord. The community is important. I see other people do it, right? If you don't really know, like, what to do or have a plan, it's just gonna happen. But yeah, I agree. No, boundaries are huge.
Yeah. I've met some incredible people throughout Discord and Twitter and YouTube and Twitch, and I would not get rid of that for anything. I really wouldn't. The people that are active in both of the Discord servers that I own, I appreciate. I love you guys. I'm very happy with the group of friends that I have. I wouldn't be able to do this podcast and talk with you on a regular basis if I hadn't opened myself up at some point, right? Yeah. So, I can't just outright say, I regret making a Discord. I regret having my DMs open. I can't. But on the other side of the coin, there's definitely part of me that's like, some boundaries would have been nice early on. And I've set those boundaries now. Most people kind of know that, like, they really want to get in touch with me, the DMs are open, but I'm not going to be interacting in the Discord all the time. There's a lot of conversations that happen that I just have no input on to begin with, and it wouldn't make sense for me to say anything. And I can't be in Discord calls all the time either. I think that's another thing where early on I was like, hey guys, I'm going to work on some videos, or I'm going to do this thing in the VC. If you guys want to join me, go ahead. And again, like, I wouldn't take it all back, because there's been some really cool moments from it, but for mentioning things that I kind of be sort of regretting, that would be kind of one of them.
Set up those boundaries, man. Not only for your mental health, but for your productivity as well. You'd be able to get so much shit done if you didn't feel like you were obligated to handle everyone's feelings and talking things you don't want to talk about and whatever. And people are allowed to have different interests. People are allowed to talk about whatever they want.
100%, yeah.
I'm not going to poo-poo on any specific conversation, but not obligated to be a part of something I don't want to be a part of. And that's just respecting my own personal time and what I like to do. And, maybe I'll be interested in whatever the fuck you're talking about later on, but we got to reach that point when I get to it, and I'm not there yet.
Yeah, and similar to you, like, there were games that I played just because people that I knew were playing them, and I felt like I had to be part of the conversation. There were times where I've watched TV shows that I didn't really have too much interest in, but I felt like I had to because somebody was watching it. You know, there's plenty of times where I was part of a conversation I had no right to be a part of.
Yeah.
And you know, you learn it. You learn as you grow. So yeah.
I get you. Kind of changing subjects a little bit. It's a little bit of a different train of thought.
Go for it.
I don't know exactly how I want to word it. Maybe the best way is I regret being a consumer more than a creator. And I don't know what the alternative of that is or how you fix that per se. But in case anybody listening to this is confused, what I mean by this is before I ever had the desire to make a video on YouTube, I was a fan of YouTube first and foremost. 2006, your boy was there. Was watching AVGN. I was watching Let's Plays. I watched music reviews. I've watched everything under the sun. I've subbed to a shit ton of channels. I love this platform. So much so that I wanted to make stuff. That's a pretty easy path to follow. You like watching something, so you try to make it. And I did. I made stuff. But the part of me that also liked watching stuff did not get the memo that I was pivoting to making shit. So the part of me that likes watching stuff continued to watch stuff. To where it got to the point where I am now, where I probably spend more than half my time watching videos and less than a third making stuff. And I feel like those numbers are always going to be that way to a certain extent. You can't make things all day. Watching stuff is simply easier. There is going to have to be a balance between the two. You can't just only create or only watch videos. But I watch a lot of my favorite creators constantly say in videos that they don't watch YouTube that much. And I'm like, gee, I wonder why. Because you're getting shit done.
Because you're doing things, right? Yeah.
Because you're actually making things. You're actually contributing to the conversation. I wish, personally, if I had a do-over, that I wasn't such a big fan of literally every type of YouTube video. So I could actually make shit. Or if you want more of a practical one, I wish I spent more time creating rather than watching. That's the short version of it.
No, I'm right there with you. It's not even just YouTube for me though either. It's like as a consumer, not only of buying products, but consuming, you know, watching, playing, reading. I am so interested in so many things that I could spend the rest of my life just watching movies, reading books, playing games, listening to music, watching YouTube videos, and not creating. And it didn't used to be that way. I started out as a creator first. I was so enamored with making music when I was younger and drawing and writing, and I would do stupid graphics on fucking Paint when I was in like 3rd grade. Like there was plenty of time where I was creator focused first, and I almost feel like as I've gotten older, it's flipped a little bit to where I spend more time consuming than I do creating, and I really dislike that. And
to be fair, like I like watching stuff. I think it's
I
good
do too,
for your
yeah.
creativity. I think it's good to refresh yourself. I especially like watching the bros content because then I can watch them improve and shit. I'm fans of your everyday nerd, Jay the Zoomster and Carrie Knight first, right? I would watch this shit regardless of whether or not we were friends. Like I am a fan. But sometimes that means you know, I could have got something done today, and instead I watched 16 Anthony Fantano reviews. It's like, hey, you know, maybe that wasn't the best call. Maybe it's an issue with work ethic. But more importantly, like you said, I'm just interested in a lot of things, and sometimes I justify it by saying, oh, well, maybe I'll get some important advice here, or maybe I'll be inspired by something or whatever. But I didn't really do much of exploring so much as I watch a lot of the same type of stuff over and over again, and that is not creatively inspiring. That does not help me. And similar to what we said about our YouTube help channels, watching 1,000 of those, believe it or not, does not actually help you make 1,000 videos. You
sure
kind of
don't.
have to do that yourself. Maybe that's just because I'm not properly motivated, but I think it has more to do with the fact that I'm a consumer first. I like media, bro. I'm a big fucking fan of media, you know? And like, that really sucks when you have to actually sit down and make your own thing, and you just kind of sit there and you're like, well, actually, I could watch one video or two. Watch it. Watch a little YouTube video here.
It's the whole media literacy thing that kind of trapped me, where I decided I wanted to make a movie review video. And so I watch movie, I talk about movie, I put out the video. And there was like very little thought put into any of that. I just did it. But the more movie reviews I did, the more thought went into each of them. And now I feel like in order to properly review this one movie, I need to know about 10 other movies beforehand. And sure, there's some of that is true. I think there's a lot of people that make videos about shit they don't really know much about. I'm not gonna gain all that knowledge in one night. I'm not gonna gain it all in 1 year. It's okay to make a video about something you don't know too much about, but then in like 10 years after you've kind of built up more of a repertoire, revisiting it and talking about it again.
100%.
Yeah, it's very similar regret to you. Less so on the watching YouTube, definitely some of that for sure, but more so on the like I just be buying things and intending on getting to them, and I'm always behind, and I can't catch up, and I never will. And I got to be okay with that, but also like create more, because that's what we do. That's the whole
watching stuff is healthy.
Thing.
Watching stuff is fun. It's just when it gets in the way of what you really want to do, then it's like a problem, right? Like, you'd be loving to jack off, but if it's getting in the way of actual sex, it's kind of like counterintuitive. Well,
that's an addiction. So,
I mean,
I'm doing it too much. Sure. We'll talk about it after the podcast.
Yeah, we'll debate that for sure. I got some interesting thoughts on that, but
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. I just wish I actually made stuff about as much as I watch stuff, but that balance is completely ruined because I'm a fan of literally everything.
Yeah, I get it. I'm gonna this will be my last one. I don't really have anything else I can pull out. Okay. But it's again kind of similar to some of the other things, but it's also kind of an opposite to the last thing. I regret trying to turn everything into content.
Good one.
I feel like every single time I have a new interest, a new hobby, there's this part of my mind that's like, okay, well now you got to turn it into a creative project that will hopefully make you money in 5 years. And, like what that means is you end up with a lot of side projects that don't go anywhere. What that means is you get less out of the thing that you were doing to begin with. And I guess the biggest thing for me is, again, like the more I learn about a thing, the more I realize how much I don't know. And that overwhelms me and it makes me upset. And it's like, damn, I don't have the time to invest myself into this one thing and these other 20 other things that I'm interested in. It's too damn much. And like, yeah, I mean, that's really it. I remember in college, like I thought about doing a project around learning Japanese, and I could have, maybe I would have gotten more out of it, but the honest truth is probably not. No. And it's like, I've been really into reading books over the last couple of years and trying to get more into that and learning about all these wild and popular series I hadn't heard of before, but now I know about them. And there's part of me that really wants to turn it into a major project, but I'm trying to stop myself, because not only will I get overwhelmed by adding another project to it, but I'm probably going to enjoy it less at the end of the day.
I think that's a problem that a lot of people share, actually, because I'd be reading on Twitter and even watching videos of a lot of people of the sort of millennial Gen Z generation having to essentially feel like they're forced to turn their passion into work, their hobbies into work,
right?
Making money off of what you love. And it all kind of stems back from that same advice, is like, well, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life or whatever. And it's like, What it really should say, if you do what you love, you'll end up working way more than any other sane motherfucker.
Yeah,
That's
100%.
which means
100%.
you'll be burnt out. You're not going to be satisfied, and the hobbies that were genuine hobbies are now kind of ruined for you because you decided to turn it into content.
Yeah.
Like you said with Let's Plays, it kind of ruined a little bit of gaming for me. You know, kind of
Hmm.
talking about YouTube sort of ruins a little bit of the magic of creating it because we're always talking about how shitty everything is.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I had just let those passions be passions and not feel forced to turn it into work, then I could have enjoyed those passions more and my work would have been better because I would have had a bit of a focus on things
True.
that I actually feel okay to work on. But I think it's a combination of social media literally letting you say or produce whatever the fuck you want. So it's literally your decision whether or not you choose to do that, combined with that sort of hustle culture YouTube advice mindset that's like, oh, you want to make a new channel? Just do what you love, bro. And sometimes doing what you love will just ruin the thing you love and you won't get anywhere.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was music. Like, music was the thing in my life for so long. It was everybody I personally knew me as Zach the music guy. Like, that was it. Didn't have to do with YouTube, didn't have to do with video editing or anything else. It was just music. And going to college for music and thinking about becoming a teacher, or was I going to perform, or was I going to compose, trying to make some videos about it online. Like, it was all these things. And I recently have realized that I kind of just want to do music for me and nobody else, and just leave it at that. Like, not only from a listening standpoint, I feel like I've gotten so much more out of the music I listen to now than I did when I was trying to consume all of it and trying to talk about it in some way or whatever. But from a playing aspect, I may not do it as much anymore, and I may wish that I was better at it. Like at some point, I thought I was going in an upwards trajectory, and I feel like ever since then I've gone down, down, down in my skill level. But I don't care anymore. It's fully a passion of mine that will continue to be a part of my life for the rest of my life. But I doubt that I'll ever turn it into anything that is monetarily viable, and I hope I don't. I kind of
And
hope I
that's
don't
okay.
at this point.
And
Yeah,
that's
100%.
okay. And that's okay.
100%.
And the same thing is true of like, I'm going to turn my personal life into content. You don't have
Yep.
to.
Yep.
Keep that shit to yourself. I'm going to make a YouTube channel about every one of my... You don't have to, bro. You can pick one and just do that. I'm going to do Let's Plays because I like... You don't have to. That's the biggest thing I'd say for this one is don't feel like you have to do literally any of this shit. Do what you want to do, what's fun for you. And if it gets to the point where it's not fun, because let's be honest, we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to make projects that we wish we didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
But recognizing that and being like, all right, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it. And, making that call, being self-aware of the fact that you don't want to turn this into work, then don't get rid of the work. Like, it's simple as that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in control of it, right? And it's kind of your own prison that you built for yourself. Leave the prison, bro. And dip.
And the main thing is you gotta have a hobby. You gotta have something that you can go back to when you are stressed with work shit. And I think for a while, right? For a while, I didn't have anything I could kind of fall back onto and just do just because I wanted to. I always felt like it had to be productive. And you don't have to turn the mindset into a grind set. Let's put it that way. Not everything has to be grinded. So
I think if you were to boil down a lot of our major issues into one key point, I think you could just say, like, we really fucked up the whole work-life balance thing, like pretty heavily. Like, if you want to talk about our if you want to talk about like our major issues, I'd say like scheduling, consistency, work-life balance, like those three. You could add in a couple. It'd be like, oh, I did this wrong, I did that wrong. But the work-life balance one's probably the most insidious of those three too, because it's just like, we can't all be consistent, we can't all schedule. It's hard to find a whatever. purposely doing more work than actual living will take off years of your life. Like
Yeah.
there's no getting around that. Like, and that's a choice you yourself make. And YouTube shouldn't be like that. If you want YouTube to be a hobby, let it be a hobby. If you want it to be a career, that's fine. But make those areas, make that office, make that
set boundaries, right?
Bedroom, set that boundaries. You're not obligated to do everything. Make your videos, enjoy making your videos, and if they do well, they do well. They do well.
I agree. Yeah, that's my regrets. Do you have anything else, or?
That's pretty much it. Those are the major ones. If I think of something else, I'll fucking let you know in a DM 2 hours after the fact. I wish I had brought this
I'm
up.
sure we'll, like, a lot of these things we've talked about personally. We've mentioned some of them on the podcast before. You've kind of nailed it right there at the end. It's like consistency, setting boundaries, and work-life balance. Try to figure that shit out, because you'll just end up going crazy if you don't. It's the real it's the real meat right there. And again, I do want to. Yeah, go ahead. I was just gonna say, I want to take it back to the beginning of the podcast where I said, like, ultimately, I don't really regret much of anything, because I feel like everything has led up to who I am now. I wouldn't be the same person I am now if I had done any of this shit differently. Even them damn stupid Let's Plays, I feel like added something to my life, in certain positive ways. So I don't feel like I have to change everything about me. That's it.
What I was gonna say was, what are the going forward shit? Like, what are you taking out of those regrets and making better choices with?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's kind of already been happening in the last year or two. Setting boundaries, not necessarily responding to every DM I get, or feeling the need to be in a conversation about everything. The thing about work-life balance is, like I said, with music, kind of just leaving that be my thing, and that's it. Not feeling the need to make content on everything. And I hope to do better about that too. I hope to get to the point where my channel is... I'd like a niche at some point, and I don't know how it's going to work. Maybe I'll figure it out in some weird way, but somehow, some way, I've got to get a better focus on the things that I decide to cover, and the things I decide to do just for me, just for fun, and ultimately creating more. Yeah,
it's always a work in progress. You'll figure that out as you do more of that type shit.
Absolutely. What about you?
I think for me, one of the biggest ones is don't give a fuck what other people say. That's 100%. That's number one. Do shit for me. Don't rationalize it as being overly selfish and not caring about any motherfucker. I care about a lot of people, and I wish a lot of people genuinely well, even if they've done things to me or I've done things to them, or however. I wish everyone well. Going forward, I don't give a damn. I just can't afford to be spending all my waking hours caring about what other people think, worrying about whether or not this video will do well, worrying if I'm making the right call, and frankly, just being more confident in myself and just saying go for it. The whole reason I didn't do editing for other people for such a long time was, one, it's hard to get into, but number two, I didn't think I could do it for other people. Right? I legit thought I could not do it for other people, and it has been such a relief to just do it and be like, oh yeah, I could have done this shit 3 years ago.
100%.
That comes from not being confident all the time. It comes from wondering how much more growth I need to do, and not wanting to disappoint people. But that's probably the big one, is just living a little bit more for me and not necessarily caring, and getting my own shit straight first before going into that, which then leads into not doing a bunch of projects with people, not doing a bunch of collabs with people, focusing more on Blue Couch Productions and the new channel, because I think it's a good opportunity. I could really go somewhere with this.
I agree.
Better time than ever to put down time into doing that. And then obviously the big one for both you and me is just not doing Let's Plays ever.
No more Let's Plays.
Ever. There's no real big life lesson with that one. It's just don't do it.
Just don't do it. And it's funny that we even have to say that going forward because our stupid brains constantly want to get back to doing Let's Plays. It is. Yep. I think about it every couple months. I really do, and I hate it. I hate myself for it every time. But like, there's something inherently fun about it. It just when you do a lot of it, it get to be stupid, and you don't like it, and it's a waste of time.
I think the best we could do for each other is to try not to invoke that. Right? Is to try not to say things like, "Oh, when are we going to do the Mario 64 verses?" Because that shit just lingers, man. That shit's only gonna linger.
Right. The enabling thing. Yeah, you're right. No, like 100%.
At least for me and you. I know we can't control that for everybody, but at least for me and you, like, we clearly don't want to do it, so let's not casually mention things we could do that would take 6 hours to do.
Right. I'm trying to do a better job of not even saying that I want to do certain things anymore because
making promises.
As Zack Snyder, I want to do a lot. There's a lot that I want to do before I die. It doesn't mean I should do all of it. It doesn't mean I have to do all of it. And there's things that I want to do more than other things. So even when somebody DMs me and is like, "Hey, when are we gonna do this thing that we half baked talked about like 3 years ago?" I need to start saying no, we're not. We're not doing it. Let's just move on.
Because the longer it lives in your brain, the worse it's gonna get. So.
Right. That's hard.
You feel obligated to do things that you're not obligated to do. It's crazy.
Even as a joke, because I know we joke about like every once in a while. I'm like, "Yo, Aden, I'm gonna do a BookTube channel," or "Yo, Aden, when are we gonna do the Big Bang Theory podcast?" And the more we joke about those things, the closer they come to reality, and they shouldn't be reality. So,
half-baked ideas at 3 a.m. should kind of just stay at 3 a.m. You know, believe it or not.
I agree.
Kind of just stay in that lane for sure. But I think the last thing it means for both of us too is, ending this podcast, ending projects that we've been doing, and focusing specifically on the main channels. By the end of the year, Zach said it at the beginning, but by the end of the year, we are going to be done with this podcast and have our main focus be our main channel. So if you want to follow us there, that's the place to do it. That's where we're going. Feel free to DM and interact on Twitter or whatever, but that's what we're trying to do. It's what we're trying to do, and it sucks that it's going to take from August till now to get all that in order.
I agree.
But like we said earlier, we're also not quitters, so we be wanting to end things off well. So I admire that.
It sucks that it feels like quitting in a lot of different ways, and I gotta keep reminding myself that most sane people didn't start all the side projects to begin with, and were just doing their own thing, and nobody batted an eye. So, I gotta make sure I don't feel bad about ending things and not doing things I previously said I would, because at the end of the day, it is going to be better for me. It's going to be better for my content. It's going to be better for the audience. Like, just spend time on Yin, and if you just spend time on Blue Couch Productions, and we leave everything else at a minimum.
I have no doubt in my mind that if we do that, both things will do well.
I agree.
Because we've proven in the past that anytime we put focus into these two things, they do well, believe it or not. So, like, when you have multiple examples, when you've been doing it for as long as both of us have, there's really nothing in the way but ourselves at a certain point. And I'm glad that even though it do be 2021, we are finally being like, let's get out of our own fucking way for a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Let's get out of our own way. And I implore all of you to get out of your own way sometimes and just be at your happiest state. And whether that's work, life, whatever, just make things better for yourself, you know? That's the point of regrets. It's not to be like, oh, I wish I did things differently. It's to be like, okay, cool, awesome. You wish you did things differently. What now? bro.
Then doing things differently, right?
That's the part I care about. I don't want to talk to you 5 years later and be like, I regret doing this. You told me that already. Why didn't you do anything about it? You know?
Yeah, if I say that I regret doing Let's Plays in 5 years because in the past 5 years I've done more Let's Plays, don't deserve riots.
That's on you, bro. I can't feel sad for you anymore. You know, you've run out your sympathy time period allowed.
100%. 100%.
We're not people to wallow. Me and Zach aren't people to wallow. We're not people to like get down. You know, at the end of the day, even if we do say some sad, depressing shit and, you know, promise and overpromise shit. One thing that I like about both you and me is that we keep moving forward with shit. You know,
you gotta. I can't just sit there and
hang out
do
with
nothing.
you.
It's same, right? That's the thing. We complain about these things. We talk about them. We discuss them, and obviously they stay on our mind a good bit. But it's not to the point where it's debilitating, because I do realize that I only got so much time on this earth, and if I actually want to do any of it, like I gotta just keep moving. Can't be wallowing, like you said.
Gotta be at least somewhat optimistic. Not saying you have to, agree with everything, but sometimes being cynical gets in your own way. Sometimes that's all 100%. I got. That's all I got for this episode. What are your big regrets when it comes to YouTube? If you are a content creator listening to this, and be sure to check out the past episode where we talked about why we're ending the podcast. We got about 9 episodes left. We just finished this one, so 9 more to go. Looking for topics, looking for ideas. You could fill out some of the last couple things. Are there any blind spots that we missed? Hit us up in the comments or the email anotherytpodcast@gmail.com, and we will get to it. We will get to it. Now,
yes,
if you'll excuse
sir.
me, Zach, I gotta go pee. So
okay, well,
I've been
Zach,
and I've been Nate.
And thank you for listening to this episode of Another YouTube Podcast.
Bye.
I regret not getting a better host.
I gotta go piss, bro. I'm sorry. I've been holding it in for an hour.
Yo, mood, actually. I gotta go pee too.